The dots show where we're lower than the state or higher than the state. So it's a line graph that shows a trend. And also see what standards we are doing better than the state. So it does provide us with that information so that we can see where we might be lacking or being really strong. Any other questions?
Thank you for that presentation. Some of the graphs were a little hard to see. Is there a way, is it going to be on the website where we're able to view it?
Yep, after tonight, it'll be posted on our website, so it'll be able to see. You can see it closer. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take public comments on agenda items only.
Anyone? Public comments? Agenda items? Okay. Then I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Siccarelli.
Thank you. Under Personnel, Certificated Staff, number 1, the employment of Ariel Cohen as our full-time tenure-track preschool special education teacher for the 23-24 school year at a prorated salary. We're hoping that she'll start on November 1st, depending on getting all of her required documentation, including the criminal history review. Number 2, to approve a paternity leave of absence request for Kyle Silvestri as listed. For number 3, to approve our teachers in charge, Jamie Chafkin at Churchill and Jennifer Valenti at Stevenson School for the 23-24 school year. Number 4, to approve the detention supervisor, Jamie Chafkin, for the 23-24 school year over at Churchill School. Our home instructor, Lisa McIntosh, for the 23-24 school year on an as-needed basis. For number 6, the approval of stipend room change location for Christina, I call her Chrissy, Duraney for the 23-24 school year. Under B, for the non-certificated staff, the medical leave of absence for employee number 101331, retroactive from October 13th to approximately January 2nd of 2024. We have a change of assignment to approve Nicholas Polis as a full-time 12-month custodian at a contracted prorated salary effective November 1st for the 23-24 school year, and to also retroactively approve him as our custodian substitute from October 12th to October 31st, 2023. And for C, to approve the fully qualified teacher aide substitutes listed.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Yes.
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 Okay, so under curriculum and program, professional development workshops to approve the ones that are listed. We do have 2 that are coming out of title money. For B, to approve the anti-bullying Bill of Rights self-assessment approval for determining grades for the 22-23 school year, and also to approve the certified statements of assurance submitted to the New Jersey Department of Education by October 31st of 2023.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Can I have a roll call?
Yes.
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 Okay, under policy, the first reading of the policies that are listed, and that's it for policy.
Motion discussion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So I know we have some issues that we were discussing regarding eligibility of resident and non-resident students and education of homeless children and youths. I just want to get assurance that I know the policy changes, they're not necessarily policy changes that we're making. They're recommended by our policy provider, if you will. But that won't have any effect that we're changing the policy in the middle of some issues.
So it's a mandated policy, and you do have to make the changes. So we went with what we typically do. So a lot of it's language They're just changing things like instead of students, they're putting pupils or vice versa, something of that nature. There weren't major changes that are affecting how we actually do our policy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Can I have a roll call?
Yes.
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 Okay. I'm asking the board to approve a consent agenda under Business Finance, items A through J, and I'll review them. Approval of the minutes from September 21st, 2023, public and executive. Approve the bills and claims as listed on page 6 of the agenda. Approve the transfers for the month of August and September, and approve the treasurer's report and secretary's report for August and September as well. This month, we're approving the comprehensive maintenance as well as the annual maintenance budget that has to be submitted to the county office following this board meeting. On page 7 of the agenda, annually, we approve the school bus emergency evacuation drills for Stevenson and Churchill. We're also approving the building use applications on page 7 as listed. On the bottom of page 7, it's a roof replacement for Winston Churchill School, but it's basically approving or acknowledging the preliminary cost estimate through the state. The state is giving us $52,000 and the local share is $78,000, considering a total price of $130,000. The top of page 8 is the professional fees for our architect. Phase 1, the roof replacement is the flat roof, which is the larger roof, and Phase 2 is for the cafeteria roof. Hopefully, we can get these roofs done effective July 1st or before. So can I have a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Can I have a roll call?
Ms. Altai?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Mr. Di Pasquale?
Yes.
Ms. Jandoli?
Yes. Okay, at this time, we're going to talk about any old business.
So I'll touch on old business. As discussed before, we just want to make all the parents aware that November 7th is the election with the 3 ballot questions that are on it in regards to the schools. It's a common question that we're all asked on a daily basis, and I think the board and the administration did a pretty good job of getting out exactly what was taken away and why these questions are important. But one of the things that we just want to touch on is we know what's going to be reinstated if the vote passes, but I think it's important to touch on what additionally is going to be lost if it doesn't. And if the vote does not happen, if it's not a yes vote, then the district is subject to more teacher cuts, program cutting, technology cutting. So it's very important that the general public and the parents of the community understand that they have to get out. We hear on a daily basis, what can we do? Well, now's your opportunity to make your voice heard by going out and voting on November 7th. Now, as board members, we can't promote a yes vote. As parents in the district, for those that are, we can. So we'd really like the community to get behind the vote. It's very, very, very important that it passes. I don't think the district understands the challenges that are up ahead. So in addition to the vote on November 7th, we have an interim BA whose 2-year term is up. We have the recent news of the resignation of our superintendent. So all of these things compacted into the 2024 school year. It's very important now that everyone gets out and votes so that we can start heading in the right direction, because all of these things are going to be extremely difficult to face at one time. And the board and its members, we feel like we have pretty strong leadership. We're going to drive this forward. We're going to do the best that we can to give the best education possible. But it's really important that we get out there and we make our voices heard on November 7th. And if anyone has any additional questions, I'll have Frank come up in a minute. The Community Outreach Committee, we met once. We're having a meet and greet next Friday, which will be all over social media. HSA will post it, and we're going to offer 2 time frames, because coffee with the principals was great, but we got a lot of feedback that it's tough sometimes for parents to come during the day because they're working. So we're going to offer 2 times. It's going to be next Friday. Frank will touch on it a little bit more. It's going to be from 10 to 11 a.m. and then from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. So Frank, if you want to just come up, and Frank's kind of spearheading this along with the other committee members and Angela and myself.
So basically, we just want to get the word out, like Anthony just said, to everybody, all the parents that are on this committee, and then obviously all the people we've talked to, because we understand how important it is for the yes vote. And I think a lot of people that don't, very few people come to these meetings, and we want, you tell 20 people, that's, 20 times however many people, more votes. And I think, we're going to be doing, the parents who are on this group, a couple of them are, basically at their own cost. We're going to do like a blanket mailer to the whole town about all the things that are being lost. We value, everything, the teachers, we don't want our kids, the teachers, everything to lose with these programs that will be lost if the vote isn't yes. We're also going to do this meeting as well. And basically it's just to let people know what's going on, because we want to make sure everybody, not just the people in school, but all the residents of the town, and it's going to affect everything, property values, our teachers, the schools, the kids. So we just want to make sure that the word's out. So hopefully you can come next Friday. If you know anybody please tell them about it. Everybody will be getting something in the mail. Basically, it's reiterating what's the ballot questions and what's in them. So we're just trying to get the word out to as many people as possible.
And Frank, can you just let the community know who's funding the mailers? It's all by...
It's just a couple of the community outreach member parents and other parents have asked and said we're interested in helping out towards this. It's just the parents are doing it because we see the need. So, okay.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Once again, October 27th, 10 to 11 a.m., 5 to 6 p.m. It's going to be at the old Churchill Gym. With Kathleen and Susan potentially leaving at the end of this year, Kathleen, and with Sue's recent resignation, it is our intention to form a superintendent search committee, which we'll inform the community about a little later, which will entail 2 parents from both Churchill School and Stevenson School, along with 2 community members, so that the community has, a voice and can actually, take part in, through the process, and just to kind of know real time what's going on, who we're interviewing, how they're going, and so on and so forth. So under old business, that's all I have. If there's anything else?
I just want to add that early voting begins on October 27th for everyone's convenience at the rec center. So if you are unable to make it November 7th, you can begin voting early.
Okay, is that all old business?
Sorry, it's October 28th.
October
Early
28th.
voting.
Okay.
The meet and greet is the 27th.
Yes.
Okay, and now anybody have anything under new business?
I have 2 quick things on the new business. First, Sunday, October 29th, the Fairfield Municipal Alliance is sponsoring the Trunk or Treat. As of right now, there's roughly 50 spots available. So if you're interested in going, please go on Community Pass. That's where you could register. The Municipal Alliance is encouraging everybody to buy the tickets for this event in advance, because if you don't, there's going to be a holdup when you pull in. If you don't have a ticket, because every member is going to receive a wristband so they know that they're participating in this particular event. So we're trying to avoid at all costs anyone just showing up and saying, hey, I have a car, I'd like to enter, because then we're going to have to make you pull over. You're going to have to go on Community Pass. You're going to have to register. So we just want everybody to be as proactive as possible. And once again, that's on October 29th from 5 to 7 p.m. And as of right now, there's approximately 50 spots available. The second thing I want to touch on under new business is about 2 months ago, I began to work with one of the community members here in Fairfield. And his name is Stephen Clifford. And Stephen is a local children's author that has 4 books published as to date. Now, Stephen's a resident of Fairfield, and he approached me a couple months ago, and we started to talk, and he gave me 2 or 3 of the books and said, hey, listen, as a board member, I'd really like you to read these and see what you can do. So being a parent and having an 8-year-old, I thought it was great. Let me bring them home. So I let my 8-year-old and my 13-year-old read them. They were phenomenal. So I took those books and I gave them to Miss Britton. And Miss Britton She received them. She was very receptive. She enjoyed them. She passed it along to Mr. Santana. Mr. Santana spoke with Dr. Tribuco, and it turns out that as of today, we're happy to say that Stephen's books are going to be in the Fairfield Library. So I'd just like to take a second and bring up Stephen, 4 books. Stephen Clifford, he's a local author. Forgotten Wisdoms from Former Lessons from a Marine and a Teacher. So Stephen, just give them a little insert
Yeah.
on your books.
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you for clapping. That was pretty cool. I know some of the people in this room have gotten the books, and I've gotten some positive feedback from it. 2 years ago, when I came up with this idea to write these stories, my goal was to get in front of you all and get them in front of more families as possible. So I'm honored that Anthony was helping me to be a conduit for this, and Dr. Japuco and Mr. Santana, thank you for the opportunity. These are patriotic and motivational books. They're about standing up to bullies, building character through hard work, getting off screens and getting outside, and taking ownership of your responsibilities. And I think these are the core lessons that I grew up with, and I feel like some of these lessons were missed on this new generation. So I'm hoping to get in more and more families, and so getting in these in Churchill and Stevenson is pretty cool. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
And what Mr. Santana and Dr. Tribuco mentioned earlier is I believe there's going to be a possibility to possibly have Stephen come in on Author Day and actually read to the children and present his books. Yeah, Mrs. Britton takes care of all the Author Day stuff, so she'll be on top of that. So thank you again, Stephen. We appreciate everything you're doing. He's got great reviews with Fairfield Public Library. They did an article on the progress about Stephen. So we're thankful that you want to give back to the community, and we're helpful to use this platform to get you into the school. So once again, thank you,
Thank
Stephen.
you. Okay, is there any more new business? Committee reports.
Finance Committee met, Joe Feedy, myself, Kathleen. We met with our auditor to review a draft of the last year's, the year ending 6/23 audit. As we all know, finances are tight, but everything is in order. We are looking at a potential capital shortfall in the future. Up until last year, we fund our capital reserve with money from our operating budget. We had about $4 million in that budget last year. We had projects last year, and we had about $2.5 million coming into this year. In this year, we have several more projects that have to be taken care of. We talked about some of the roof repairs. We talked about some of the roof replacements. And when those projects get done, the $2.5 million that we came into this year with is going to be down to probably close to around $250,000. And the problem, not necessarily the problem with that, but the predicament that leaves us with is that with our operating budget being as tight as it is, we can't take as much money as we'd like to keep funding those capital improvements. So that's something that we've got to be aware of going forward as we're budgeting within a tight financial structure. So obviously, the money that we can put in into those capital reserves allows us to get the projects done. These projects were all part of the referendum that didn't pass, but there's still things that have to get done. So roofs, boilers, network upgrades, things to keep the buildings, open and operational. So one of the things that we have to look at going forward is going to be, again, because we're in a tight budget overall, moving funds into capital reserve so we can have it, which again leads us into what Anthony just spoke about, was the questions passing. That first question is very important to our financial stability going forward. The other thing that we noticed through the budget, through the audit analysis, is that there's really very little that we can control in terms of correcting our budget situation, right? So if we don't have money, really the only options that we have are staffing and class size, and they're sort of hand in hand. So, we really have to do all that we can do. If we want to maintain class sizes where we are, we want to maintain, staffing levels where we are, we've got to really look at that and support the district. The one other thing that Joe picked up during the meeting, and I have to admit that, and I will give Joe a lot of credit for this, coming in, being here a short time, he really impressed me during the meeting. He took his homework home, he read his audits, he did his books. It is part of his career, his profession. So, but he was on his game, and he had extremely thoughtful and intelligent questions and discussions that we had during this process. And I give Joe a lot of credit for that, especially being so new to the board. He really hit the ground running. But one of the things that we also talked about, which was like, Kathleen being an interim, so we don't always get the luxury of deciding when BAs come and go, right? They come and go for different reasons. And what happens is everyone has their own little accounting style. I'm sure even at home, the way you might keep a checkbook could be different than the way your wife keeps a checkbook, or vice versa. And one of the things that Joe picked up on is that because of these changes in our business office, it's very difficult to look at trends and to analyze trends in some of the things that we do that might be able to help us, with our finances, because of the way that, and none of it is wrong. It's just a matter of preference. The way Kathleen might book an expense versus the way Leanna booked an expense versus the way Dan booked an expense versus the way Yvonne, would have booked an expense. So over the years, when you're trying to look at different areas and compare them through the trending and analyzing those trends, some of that, and I think, Kathleen mentions that as well, becomes difficult to do. And these are just things that came up out of, our analysis at the Finance Committee of the recent audit. And I believe next month, the auditors will be here to present the final audit. Thank you.
Okay, committee, any more committee reports?
So I don't know if this falls under a committee report, but Kathleen did a great job because it was asked last meeting in regards to negotiations coming up with our teachers. So this is not so much a report. I just want to share something that Kathleen shared with us earlier today. Everyone's aware that we're underneath the 2% tax levy, correct? A 2% increase. Well, based upon a 3.75 salary increase, right, for our teachers during this negotiation process would be north of 80% of the 2% that the school district's allowed. So I want everyone to really wrap their head around those numbers. If we give the teachers a 3.75 salary increase, that's going to consume north of 80% of our 2% increase, leaving us with less than 20% to deal with the day-to-day and other increases out there. So it's very important for people to realize how important it is to come out in November and make your voice heard.
Anyone else committee reports? Okay, at this time, anyone have public comments on non-agenda items? Come up.
Do I have to get up there?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
My name is Joan Donko Small here. Compared to all of you, I'm grandma status, but I was on the board of education for years, and I'm just so happy to be here. And also I was past president of Golden Agers. So when you talk about a community outreach committee, that's phenomenal. And I'll tell you why. Because so many seniors don't use their computers. And so many seniors still live in their homes and they're paying taxes. So they honestly don't want to see any raises in anything because they don't understand what it's for. So I think it's really important with that committee because I was one of those people during COVID where I couldn't get, what did you do your meetings? You did your meetings on some type of a computer, Zoom. I couldn't figure out how to get on Zoom. Now, I used to be so proficient in this and I just couldn't do it. So I have to tell you, that's wonderful. And sending a letter to everybody in town would help so much, especially then. And I know that the principals are coming to the next Golden Ages meeting, but what can they really talk about? I mean, it's like, can they, I mean, seriously, it's you guys that the town needs to know because you guys represent us. So, you know, it's like, I know Golden Ages said no. So if I was president, it wouldn't have happened. But I sound like somebody we all know who tweeted a lot. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. This was such an interesting meeting for me. It's so different than what we did. But it's just still so business and so caring for the kids. And I'm really glad that that letter's going to go out. Please explain in that letter the budget.
Yeah.
The budget's crucial. The numbers are crucial. I mean, you're asking for so much over what the state gives you, and they have to understand why.
Yeah.
And I think you'll get a lot more support once you do that. So, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You know, I think it's interesting because so many grandparents have children. Like Fairfield's such a generational town, right? Like people come to Fairfield, they stay in Fairfield, their parents buy, and then their children buy, and then their children buy. And that's why it's important. And I have conversations with members of the community, and a couple are in the audience tonight where they, you know, both mother-daughter, mother-son live in town. And it's important that we spread the word to everybody, not just the parents, because the parents ultimately have to go out there and vote. But if you do have, you know, parents that live in the community, you got to do your job and explain why it's important, right? Because the Golden Agers, they're meeting with the principals, and I'm sure Dr. Chabuco and Mr. Santana are going to do a great job of, you know, drilling why, you know, or all the facts and why it's important for them to go out and vote. But if any of them would like to come to the meet and greet on Friday, the 27th, they're more than welcome to. And like I said, we're having 2 time frames, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Well, most seniors can't drive at night anyway.
But thank you for coming, because it means a lot to the community and the board that.
A lot to me. I mean, it was really great. And Brian, you're the only one I knew. You know, but yes, it was great. It was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments on non-agenda items only? Okay, at this point, be it resolved, the next meeting will be held in person on November 16th. Public session work beginning at 6:30, followed by executive session with public session resuming at 7:30 at the Fairfield Municipal Building. At this time, no further business before the board. The meeting is hereby adjourned. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second? And then can I have a roll call?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming.